Good morning, Las Vegas. It's Zandra Pollard with It's Where I Am. Today we have guests from Music for Life. We also have a retired veteran, and we also have B. Akins, who works with support for people who have problems with gambling. So I know many of you guys know about when the fun stops. We see this brochure at all of the cash, when you cash out at the casino, we see this flyer and we'll pick it up like, oh, what's that? And I'll, you pick it up, you look at it and it's like, oh. So we have B here to talk about problems with gambling, how to get resources for problems with gambling in our community. Then we also have Chris. Chris is going to talk to us about postvention as it pertains to suicide, which is a very heavy topic, but so important because all of these things are connected. How we feel when we go out gambling. Are we happy? Are we depressed? Are we trying to get a little extra change to pay the bill? So all of these things are connected. And then we have Donnie who'll come in and talk to us about music therapy and how we can feel better in the process of that cathartic process of feeling better, changing our emotions, reducing stress and anxiety. So let's start. Oh, before we do all of that, I do want to say, since we are focusing, especially with veterans, this show, because most of us are on the Mayor's Challenge in Las Vegas to help reduce suicides for veterans and their families. So I want to tell you about the High Tea, the third annual High Tea. Women serving then, now, and forever. This will be Saturday, March 21st from 1 to 3. I guess it'll be at 3 Square, which is 4190 North Pecos in North Las Vegas. You can find this, the information for this on my website. So if you go to itswhereiam.com, you will see the High Tea flyer and find out about the event, and hopefully you can show up if you are serving, have served. Please show. So now, when I go to the casino, I'm spending my entertainment money. I'm not spending my bill money, right? So it's very important to know that when we take on our fun for the weekend or for the evening with our significant other or just alone time, because sometimes for me it's alone time, that we have to be careful that it's only our entertainment as we would go to a movie or dinner or something like that, right?
Absolutely, you got it, Sandra.
Okay, so now what if I'm feeling like, well, I think I'm gonna win, I got some lucky numbers?
Well, if you're still in your entertainment budget, that's fine.
Okay.
But you made a great point, Sandra. When the fun stops is for those people that it's no longer fun. They cross that line and they're not just spending entertainment dollars, but they find they're spending more and more money. And it's really not about the money. Like
Or
people
the free
that,
drinks.
right, people that have a problem with gambling, for those for whom it's a disorder, the fun has stopped and it's way beyond entertainment dollars or just a social evening out.
Right. So what are some of the resources? Like, okay, if someone has a gambling problem, if they're asking you for money all the damn time, right? That's one indicator. When you're getting asked a lot,
Could be.
this person never has their money. They always have an excuse as to why they can't pay their bills, right?
Could be. And it's really about an individual choice, though. A person that has a problem with gambling, I'm not the one to tell them. They have to get an assessment, or they know there's a problem. And the simple definition of a gambling disorder is if it interferes with the regular activities of your life. Could be you're missing work, could be you're missing time from family, could be you're not focused while you're with family or at work, or you're preoccupied with gambling.
Does someone have to do like an intervention with that? Because, I don't think a lot of people who have gambling problems know that they have gambling problems. But the people they're borrowing from definitely know. So what do we do? What if we have an uncle, let me say Billy Bob, I don't want to call any personal names, but if we have this Uncle Billy Bob who we feel needs to get into treatment, do we have an intervention with him and then call a phone number, or how does that work?
Well, the Nevada Council on Problem Gambling is not in the business of doing interventions. We're in the business of providing education and resources for the community. So on the Nevada website, which is nevadacouncil.org, there are resources for family members and for those with a problem. We have free treatment available here or subsidized treatment in Nevada through a grant, which provides, based on ability to pay. Really, like any addiction, I think it's the individual must come to terms with the fact that it is a problem and that they do need to reach out for help.
But you don't hand out, let's just be clear, you don't give like money to help with bills, right?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that.
We give education, resources, and we advocate for social change in problem gambling. The council itself is education, advocacy, and awareness.
Okay. Now, excuse me, B, when I met you at the Care Coalition.
Yes.
And when we met, I had no idea that you worked for When the Fun Stops. I knew that you worked for Ladies Hope. You are the CEO of Ladies Hope.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your foundation?
Thank you, Sandra. Yes, I have several hats, and they're all related to the same issue, which I'm passionate about, is for helping those with a gambling disorder and making the community aware of it. Lainey's Hope is a foundation I created after I lost my sister Lainey to suicide, to an overdose related to her gambling disorder. And I too am in long-term recovery from gambling disorder. The one thing I wouldn't speak about, and you know that, was my gambling disorder for years, even though I'm in long-term recovery. And when my sister died because of this disorder, I knew that I could no longer be quiet and I had to speak out about it. So that hat that I wear at Ladies Hope is a community advocacy group. We raise awareness so that people feel more confident and comfortable talking about gambling disorder, and people who may not necessarily themselves have a disorder are impacted by it, like you said, relatives. The greater goal is that the community would care about this on the same level that they do other addictions. And I always say I think that gambling disorder is about 20 years behind substance abuse disorders in community awareness and in compassion and the understanding that it's a mental health disorder and a community health disorder that impacts us.
Isn't it like connected to, it's not really that you want to gamble, you're kind of running away from other problems, right?
Right, the underlying issues would be similar to any other addictive disorder, and generally there's something else that's not working in your life, and that makes one reach out for an escape or altered feelings.
Well, what I'd like to do is I'd like to put your information on my website, because we do not have it as of yet, but we'll have it on there in the next day or so, Frank. And
thanks, Frank.
Yeah, Frank. So you can go to the website, itswhereiam.com, and you can find Lainey's Hope and also information from the Nevada Council on Problem Gambling on the site as well. Which takes me over to you, Chris. When I met you at a peer support group meeting through work. And so I was there to find out about suicide postvention, families who need peer support after someone has completed, or friends, after someone has completed suicide. And I met you, and I tell you, I've told more people about your peer support group at every place of employment I've had, because when I met you, you just stuck out to me. And I knew that you were a veteran who provided this great peer support group at the Rainbow Library. And so I told many people in different places I would go, and people were dealing with different mental health issues and depression, and I would tell them about your group, and I just spread the word. And I was so happy to see you last month, which is why I asked you to come on. Can you tell us more about that peer support group?
Well, definitely. Thank you for the very warm introduction this morning. We see this as the data's out there is almost 50% of Americans have been impacted by suicide. And Dr. Julie Searle, one of the foremost suicidologists, talks about this, is every suicide death that we have out there, there's potentially 135 individuals that are impacted by this loss alone. So we focus these efforts a lot on the prevention and saving the lives with suicide, but what do we do for the survivors?
Right.
Is those that are impacted on there, because it is a traumatic way that somebody leaves this earth. So you're dealing with not only trauma, but you're dealing with grief, co-occurring grief at the same time, and the shock that comes behind this. And there's not a lot of support that is out there for somebody who experiences a suicide loss.
I only know of yours.
And there's several in the local community. The state, I think the state of Nevada has done a wonderful job. There's some pioneers out here, such as Linda Flatt, who really was a pioneer of this postvention movement, and it's really kind of caught on because of the work that she laid here in the state. And so she set the example, and a long group has been running at the Barbara Greenspun Center down in Henderson for quite some time because of Linda's efforts. And she was one of the originators of the Nevada Coalition for Suicide Prevention. That's there. So the energy is in the state, but the connectedness is not there.
Okay.
It's how do we connect to say when somebody dies by suicide is how do we connect these families to support, the proper support, so they can have the questions answered around the why. They can walk through the steps. They can walk through this grief journey that we typically think is linear, which is absolutely not. It looks more like a bowl of spaghetti when you put it together because it bounces all over the place. And one place that I found to do this is through peer support. Every book that I read after I lost my brother Adam to suicide in 2017 said, find somebody that you connect with. Find those survivors that understand what you're going through. Every book, from Thomas Joyner to every other expert in the field of suicidology, said, find a support group. Like, get involved with people. And so that was my motivation behind it, because I saw a gap in our community. For a valley that's almost 2 million people, I only knew of 2 support groups that were running for suicide loss survivors. One in a church and one at the Barbara Greenspun Center. There was no group specifically for veterans either that was being run at the time.
And what are the suicide rates for veterans in Las Vegas? Does anyone know off the top of their head? Like, how many do we lose every year?
Well, the state, if you the data lags by about 2 years. Right. Because we're getting that. So if you look at from the latest report from the American Association for Suicidology, there were 657 suicide deaths in the state of Nevada in 2018. And it doesn't specify veterans with that is the number of losses. There's further data within the VA and the Office of Suicide Prevention that does have that. But that's an impact. The rate is around 21% per 21 deaths per 100,000 folks here. We do have a large veteran population in the state, almost 200,000 in here. So if you equate and you do some correlation with the math, that's a large impact.
Well, I know we kept saying that Nevada was the only state that reduced suicide by 1%, but we found that to be untrue.
It did for 2017, and then the rate went back up in 2018.
Right. Okay.
So, and then that's what it is. It has to be this longitudinal data analysis that's on there. You could have a year where conditions are good. You could have this downturn, and it's really the examination. You can't take it year by year to analyze trends, especially in suicide, to see what's working. It's got to be a prolonged period
like
of time.
5 years, 7 years.
I'd say at least that.
Okay.
I'd say at least five to 10 years to really see what the trends are.
Okay. So tell the folks how they can find you if they want this type of support.
Yeah, so you can find my specific group. We meet at the second Wednesday of every month at the Rainbow Library from 6 o'clock till 7:30. That's specifically for military families and veterans that have experienced suicide loss in there. No matter what the relationship may be, you could be a child, you could be a parent, you could be a brother, you could be a sister, you could be a grandparent. It's open to all. I also run a support group that includes all Gold Star families, regardless of the circumstance of death.
What do you mean Gold Star families?
Gold Star family is a term that's given to anybody who loses a military member to service. So say if they pass away from a motorcycle accident while on active duty or in active status, as they would be considered a Gold Star family. training accidents, and even suicide as well too is considered a Gold Star family. So that's all inclusive, no matter the cause of death. So grief is grief, loss is loss, and the military community shares a unique connection with our losses as well too. So on the first Monday of every month, out of the Vet Center over on Washington and Buffalo, we run a support group for all Gold Star families and losses from 6 o'clock to 7:30 under an organization called the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. They're a national nonprofit that is specifically dedicated to the surviving families of military members, and you can find them at taps.org.
Oh, nice.
So for the local community, say you have an elder veteran that served in the Korean War or served in the Vietnam War and they die of an illness later on, TAPS can provide that support that can be case management with the VA, that can help out with benefits, that can help a family that may not know the processes navigate the services that is available to them for survivors.
Yeah, that's why I felt like it was so important. I wanted to reach out to you guys and let people know, or in that group, that we have to get this information out to the community because we don't know. When we're all in the same room at some community outreach, we're only reaching out to a small group of people, those who show up, right? And hopefully they pass along the information. But this is a great platform for people to get information out to the community. So I thank you again for being here. And I would like to now speak to you, Mr. Donnie.
Yes.
About what you do. You have an event coming up called Soul Sacred Rhythms.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
Well, good morning, Sandra, and thank you for having me here. Yes.
Sandra.
Yes. I'm coming from West Virginia, so I'm a little country. You have to forgive my accent. It pops out every now and
Everyone had to get Oprah right, so you got to get Sandra right.
Sandra.
Yes.
Sandra. I'll get it right. So yes, I am a music therapist here in Vegas, representing Music for Life. It's a business, a music therapy company that has been in the Vegas area for the last 30 years. And I'm glad that we are finally now relaunching our community programs. First of many at the West Charleston Library on March 22nd, 3 p.m. So those who are familiar with Music for Life know us from our Rainbow campus. We had offices on Rainbow Boulevard, and we had a number of programs going, drum circles, line dancing, etc., etc. Plenty of support for the community. 2019 was an interesting year because as we focused on our online efforts, we had to suddenly move from that campus, which was within Solutions Wellness. But now we are relaunching our community events. And so, yeah, we've started with the West Charleston Library, partnering with them with various music therapy services. So this is like a drum circle event. So you'll have a number of different instruments, and we'll be working with a number of things that kind of bring that healing and that feeling of spring, if you will, to the soul.
Oh, I like that feeling of spring. Now, what is this about? Is your music toxic?
Okay, so this postcard, is your music toxic? This is
Do you do like I'm sorry, what I wanted to ask is, do you do like an assessment for music?
We do.
Okay.
We do. So the focus of Music for Life has been on our music medicine protocol. The music medicine protocol was realized through the vein of music therapy, and what it pretty much is using music as medicine. We all have listening habits with music, and it's important to know that music affects us in three ways. It affects our physiology, our emotions, and our behavior. And so when you examine that, other phenomena affect the human experience the same way, including drugs, including gambling. Suicide is usually a result of, some emotional trauma, right? And so it's recognizing that music has the power to take us down if the music we're listening to is toxic,
Right.
or it has the power to bring us up. If we're using it,
Or sometimes we use music to help kids go to bed when they're crying. I used to take my kids on drives, and my mother was really good about putting on classical music. If they start fighting in the back or acting a fool, she would put on some classical music, or she would put on that jazz station. Yeah.
Yes.
So I hear what you're saying. Sometimes, music will help us to like reduce anxiety, right? We need to mellow out, or sometimes we need to amp it up.
Right.
Sometimes I need some coffee and some drums and some bass to get me going.
Exactly.
I love coming here in the morning before the show because I hear good music before I get started. The energy's great.
Right.
So tell me, as we change our mood for March, is that what you said?
Yes.
As we change our mood through music in March, we can expect to go to the Soul Sacred Rhythms event on March 22nd, which will be at 3 p.m. But what if before the 22nd, we feel like our mood or our energy is not quite right? Do you guys take insurance? Can they just call? Can they just get an assessment? How does that work?
So with music therapy, yes, and insurance is tricky because of code. But yes,
Because of code?
yes,
Okay.
because of insurance codes. But yes, and we have our online platform, which is now launched, and it has 3 different platforms that you can go to. So we have our Music Medicine Academy, which includes training courses that tell you more about this protocol that we've developed. What I love about the story that you shared about your mom is she had the natural intuition to play music that shifted your mood state,
Right.
right? So, and it's the same thing that you now do, right? You use music to shift mood. What can often happen is that through trauma and through developing unhealthy listening habits, we can find ourselves stuck in an emotional
Like if we
state.
just want to escape from something, like sometimes when you're watching movies or you're thinking about teenagers and they just want to play a certain type of music, they don't deviate from that type of music.
Correct.
And whatever mood they're in, they'll play the same doggone music, right?
Correct.
They need to have some
And-
variety in there.
And it's important to know. So this is what I deal with a lot with my teens. They're
Do you
in
work
love with
more
them.
Teens? I'm sorry. Do you work with more teens than any other age?
I would say that it's about half and half. We have teens and youth groups, but we also have adult groups. The focus of our company has been on mental health and specifically recovery.
Okay.
So we work with a number of companies and organizations here in Vegas within their groups, including Vogue Recovery, Destinations for
So,
Teens.
what are some of the insurances you do take? Do you know what insurances you can take?
So that's behind the scenes, and so I don't have all of that information, so I deal with
so
direct
then how can people
services.
reach you to find out if you take their insurance?
So, themusicforlife.com, or you can call 702-889-2881.
All right. Well, thank you for that information, Donnie. I'm sure it'll be helpful. Also, I know Bee wants to let us know about an event she has coming.
I do.
What
March
date is it?
14th.
Okay.
March 14th. March is also Problem Gambling Awareness Month.
Yes, I read it became, at first it was a week,
Right, we got a
but it
month.
was so damn bad, they had to make it for the whole month in 2016. right?
Hopefully it means that people are more aware and we have more time to spread the word.
Yes.
And, Donnie mentioned music is helpful in helping people in recovery. We do, in March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and this is our 2nd annual event where we have a community event at the East Las Vegas Community Center on the 14th of March.
Okay.
It's from 1 to 4. Our guest speaker, sports is a very big issue this year and with the professional sports teams in town. And our keynote speaker is Vance Johnson.
Is that this guy here?
That's that guy there.
Now, who's Vance?
Vance is a terrific guy who is in long-term recovery himself. He's a passionate advocate supporting recovery from substance and gambling. And I'm not telling his story, he's going to tell it. But he was a professional athlete, played for the Denver Broncos for 10 years, went to 3 Super Bowls, and now he dedicates his time he's now a full-time Las Vegas citizen. Everybody that comes to our event gets a book, and he will be there to autograph it. But his story is compelling. I hope people will come. They can register at the Nevada Council. It's nevadacouncil.org, or on our Facebook page, Nevada Council on Problem Gambling. And they can pre-register so we know to be prepared for you. But I I really want people to come out to, I've said that problem gambling is probably 20 years behind substance addiction in people's awareness and showing up. And so this is a community health issue.
I think because other people feel like they have a choice, and I think people just really don't feel so sorry for them. I think it's more of an irritation.
Right, and I'm not asking people to feel sorry. I'm asking them to open them, have their minds open to be able to accept that it is an addiction like other addictions.
Sure.
And there's absolutely a choice the first time. I had a choice the first time I placed a bet. After that, choice was taken away I was hijacked by my brain. And it's treatable. So, it's not, I'm not saying a victim thing, I'm saying it's real.
But that's not, is that really the part? It's like, I know your brain somewhere, I've forgotten Psychology 101, that your brain does something when you're gambling. It's like stimulated. How do you see it?
Yes, and the neuropathways of a person with gambling disorder, you cannot discern if you do a CAT scan, a PET scan of the brain. It looks identical to a heroin addict, to a drug addict. There's no difference.
Oh, wow.
The difference with a compulsive gambler is there's no satiety. We don't pass out, we just keep gambling. So, I know it's like you said, it's just a choice.
But there's other things that you were saying earlier that come along with it.
Absolutely.
There's other reasons why people are going out and gambling and making that unfortunate choice.
Well, the main thing is to know that help is available.
Yes.
And my desire is, my hope is for the community to care. 6% of our population is impacted directly as a person with gambling disorder. But for every one of those people, another 10 people are impacted: their spouse, their family, their community, their employer. So it is a community issue. And it's really about hope and help.
Thank you so much. We'll have all of these resources on Frank. We'll have all of these resources on the website. It's whereiam.com. If you'd like to attend any of these events, I'm sure they'll be helpful. You can pass along information to loved ones and get your free book from Vance Johnson and get it signed. Find out what his issues were with gambling and see if you relate. Is there any last minute things anyone would like to say before we head on out?
Just one plug. For those here locally in Las Vegas, on the 4th of April at Craig Ranch Park, there's the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. They'll host their annual Out of Darkness Walk, and they're one of the national nonprofits that supports suicide research and postvention programs across America.
Come support us at the library March 22nd. We'd love to see you.
And B?
Come see us March 14th at the East Las Vegas Community Center. Vance Johnson and Ted Hartwell will be speaking about sports and gambling, and we hope you'll join us.
Thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you, Frank, for all that you do for It's Where I Am. Thank you all for being here. This is Zandra, It's Where I Am. Check me out every Wednesday, first Wednesday of the month at 9 a.m. You can always go to my website, itswhereiam.com. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you on April Fool's Day.